Dear beloved Creator of all that is, for all that is, has been, and ever will be, is here right now. Not linear, as we so divine, but a circle and circles within circles of endless repetition and evolution, hard for our limited minds to conceive or perceive differently. Seeing differently than what we come to is often a challenge for most, for some seemingly impossible, fixed, or programmed, or egoically set to be right, no matter. Our challenge as the co creators that we truly are is to be open, raise the sashes, fling open our doors, breathe deep the freshness of possibilities and horizons unseen, unthink our to date, dated, and outdated limitations, think the impossible, dream large, endless time, timeless, abundant, unlimited, free, all now, all one, all divine. And so it is.
Thank you, Charlie.
My pleasure.
It was our pleasure. Missed you today in Salem.
Thank you. We had a good time, but I know it would have been lovely to be there. Glad you could go.
Next time, girl.
Okay, the deal.
Okay.
Bye bye.
So, my name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old man, talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. Charlie was on the road and called in to give us a prayer. Thank you, Charlie. William's here with me. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, William Bell on Oregon in the Portland area. I do the technology, TV show, website, whatnot.
And you do it quite well. Thank you very much.
And you're welcome.
Let's see. Last weekend in Tigard, we recorded some work there, but there was a good speaker there, a guy named James Going, something like that.
Going.
Yeah. And I spoke to him this week. It was like Charlie called him on the phone and he was on the road and he pulled over into the shade at the Linwood College. And we talked for maybe a half an hour. Delightful guy to talk to. He's the vice chair for the Oregon Republican Party for Yamhill County. And he's working to swing Yamhill into being a conservative state, city, county, everything to do with governing Yamhill. He wants to get rid of the corporate governance and the evildoers. That's a hell of a job to take on.
Yeah. So does he view the pirated scenario, corporate governance that we see the same?
No, not the same. Very similar, though. He has a certain amount of cognitive dissonance. How's that crude saying go? He still thinks you can pick up a turd by the clean end.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Of course, we've done enough research to know, and we're continuing to prove over and over throughout every single county on Oregon here that they do not respect or acknowledge the Constitution of Oregon or the United States. They, in fact, several cases we can point out that they don't even obey the Oregon revised statutes that's supposed to be in parallel with the Oregon Constitution.
I agree wholeheartedly, and we keep calling him on that.
Yep.
But he was a little bit surprised when I explained Article 7 amended to him. And then I said, all of them, everybody in the legislature, judiciary, and executive branches since November 8th, 1910 is culpable. They all know. There's no secret. They're doing it. They're governing in color of law. And he just has a really hard time grasping that his beloved Republican Party And he knows that there's bad people in the Republican Party and they have to be cleaned out. And he knows all of that.
Yep.
But he just can't comprehend that his party could knowingly, intentionally, and willfully do color of law.
For over 100 years.
Yeah.
Exactly. He hasn't done the research that we've done, and needs us to continue to educate him, and of course the rest of the people on Oregon also. So you talked to him after the event last Sunday.
Yep.
Okay. So how many people do you think attended the last Sunday event there in Beaverton?
Tiger.
Tiger?
Yeah. I did a rough count, and my rough count is a rough count. Like today, I counted today, and I came up with 90.
Okay.
And Tanya counted, and she came up with 79.
All right.
But I do 5, 10, 15, 20, and and she does 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
So I think there was.
Go ahead.
I think there was about 100 in Tigard last week.
Okay. Now, I was there, and I didn't bother counting. I was, too busy. I kind of tend to sit there as somewhat of a security scenario. You see, I stand up most of the time, so I will be in observation of activities. I don't really count. I guess I should count them too, but I did not. I'm not sure exactly. I did notice that a lot of the people, several of the people we seen there, we seen down at Salem today.
Yep.
So it seems to be some regular people that are attending. I don't know, Republican, maybe not Republican, but
Conservative.
Conservative. Yeah. Some people don't like that word conservative either.
Patriot.
Patriot. People hate that damn word too. I'm not sure why.
Yep.
The patriots of the past are, what's the guy that was running through on his horse telling us the patriots were, or the British were
Paul
coming?
Revere.
Paul Revere. He seems to be a patriot to me, when I think patriot.
Yep.
I don't know how many of those people we have that are doing that. Maybe we could count the percentage of the 90 that were there on last Sunday as that maybe like 5% or 3% maybe that are that kind of person. But I think that we're sparking interest in this freedom cause. Maybe that's what I want to call it. It's a freedom cause to bring ourselves to a Republican form of government and educating them to be self-governed, as opposed to the ungovernable ones out there that we see in the Portland fiascos downtown. I think that both events today and the one last Sunday were good. I just wish that we could find more people. Maybe it's the advertising. Something is going on that maybe people aren't knowing that we're actually going to these events that's causing it, or maybe it's the warm weather and they're out there at the river or something like Jural does.
Yeah. There's probably some of all of that.
Yeah.
Hard to figure out. But we did quite well today. I don't know if Tanya's counted up the score or not, but we found several people in the dozens.
Yeah.
In the dozens, in the tens, that were whatever enough, Oregonian enough to want to stand up in their own name and declare their status and become a juror in our grand jury pool. That was delightful. That lady we talked to at the end, the one from, where was she from?
He was from
that college town out in the country.
Corvallis.
Yes, out in the country. Yep, by Corvallis.
Yep. And she doesn't know all the stuff, but she is in pursuit of the information and willing to be corrected with enough evidence for this takeover that they've done in the last 100-ish year, 150 years, which is great to see people start to wake up to that. Now, the other thing I noticed is that there was nobody down there that was mad or sad or anything. They seemed to be pleasant. enjoying the event. It wasn't a large crowd, but everybody had somebody to talk to. And they seemed like they were having really good conversations and educating each other on different subjects, as well as the Republican form of government that we should have on the state here.
Another thing that intrigued me about that is they turned the water on and they had the water fountain going, and kids and dogs were playing in the water, and I loved that.
Yeah.
There was one little girl, a 2-year-old, I think, uh, running in the water and just having a wonderful time, and the kids were playing and the dogs were in it. It was, yep.
I seen some of the adults take their shoes off and go ahead and get in the water too. So it wasn't just the kids, or maybe they were still kids in mind anyway, and we should, we should have some fun, and it shouldn't all be serious. And it wasn't a serious event. It was this get together and talk, and there was some music playing. People had some live music going on. That one guy seemed to be like almost like a rapping scenario, but it was about freedom, which was very interesting. It was a good event for people to get together with, I think, and definitely not a waste for us to go down there, or anybody else that went down there, to be able to have these conversations, to get out of our houses, get out of the lockdown mentality, and enjoy humanity. I think at its damn near best, people shaking hands and hugging and kids playing. It's good to see. It's good to see here on Oregon for sure, especially in that capital there.
Yes. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was tiring as hell, William.
Yes. Conversation there can be such that there's a lot of thinking involved, and thinking also takes energy. So the thought that we've done down there was definitely tiring at the end for sure. We were only down there for 3 hours, but it seemed like a long time for sure. And that was the other thing. It looked like they had a slight problem with the scheduling. One flyer, it looked like it was 1 o'clock, and then we started doing more research and found another flyer for the same event that said 10 o'clock a.m. And we contacted the people, and they said yes, it was at 10 a.m. So we showed up there, but maybe we were the rarity of people that contacted them to find out what time it really was. So maybe that contributed to the low turnout of that event. You claim it was probably at least 100 there, though, but
yeah, I think at the end we probably had 100.
But everybody had somebody to talk to, and that was good.
That lady, no, I started talking with her, the one that had her push cart that she can turn around and sit down on. Yep. I don't remember her name, but she was a nice person, and she was a nice one of the people, and she had good conversation, well thought out. Yep. Just a delight to talk to. Then I got up and leave. You stole my chair and you talked to her for another half an hour or so.
At least. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. These conversations are very interesting, and trying to figure out how much they know of what's happened compared to what we've uncovered. I think there's a little education on both sides of the conversation for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Really, we have that clip we're gonna run for from last Sunday, so that everybody can see that event there. Well, at least your speech of it. I don't have the content from the other speakers there, but I have yours, so they can listen to that. But we wish for everybody to keep their eye out in all the different venues to find where these events are happening and what day and time, and try to keep that straight. But come and visit and talk with us, and join our Jural assembly. This is the only way. We have to do it ourselves. There's no heroes coming, right? There's no I don't even want to say names, but there's nobody coming to help us as far as one of the people coming to save the day. Now we know we have the Creator and we have His Son, but I'm talking about down here on Earth. We don't have another one of the people that are going to come save us from the pirates. It's only us. What is the first sentence in the Constitution of Oregon? Ron?
What? Article 1, Section 1?
Right. What does that say?
All power is inherent in the people.
That's right. So
Yep.
we go do it. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
Yep.
there is no white hats.
No white hats.
No white hats. We got to do it ourselves.
What we decided to do 3 years ago last month was to form a Jural assembly and to take Oregon back. So we started on that and we're doing it one step at a time. There are a lot of steps for making that decision until we finally had a grand jury in Salem and we could bring arraignments and trials to the public, and that's what we did. When we read the Constitution, we read the parts in there that are for us, such as the Article 1, Section 1, all power is inherent in the people, and when we get tired of what they're doing to us, we stop it. We are the government. If you take the time to read that, and then you say, okay, how do we implement that? Well, we wrote the legislature that the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly was Article 1, Section 1 of the Oregon Constitution, and as we have a constitutional Republican form of government, we don't need a majority. We are. Now, anybody else that wants to start a Jural Assembly, please do. We'll help you. But we're doing Oregon. We're not dividing into counties. When we read the Constitution, it says Oregon. It doesn't say State of Oregon. State of Oregon is the corporation that's being run by Kate Brown and her group. I got a document when I was checking on who really owned the Marco Hatfield building downtown Portland. They said it was a federal building, so I did the checking up on that. It's not. It's built on Oregon. It's not built on federal land. It's not a federal building. It's a lie. So I checked on that, and one of the documents I got said, the city of Portland is a subdivision of the county of Multnomah, as a subdivision of the state of Oregon, as a subdivision of the United States. That's not a constitutional Republican form of government. You can't get there from where they're taking us. We have to come back. They flipped Oregon November 8th, 1910. They flipped Oregon from being a state to being the state of Oregon. And we all know it. They've all been acting in color law since November 8th, 1910. Everybody that's elected to office knows it. It's not a secret among them, but it's a secret among the people. Nobody bothered to tell us. It's just like Lincoln flipped the United States into a benevolent form of martial law, March 1861. It's never been changed back. They had a war that wasn't a war, they had a peace that wasn't a peace, and they never did reconstitute our nation as made up of the several states. They ignored it. They operated in color law from March 1861, and they just kept doing it. They brought the southern states back to the Union, only it wasn't the Union. It was an incorporated governance, and they've been operating in a benevolent form of martial law since then. Well, we took the trouble to find out about how that really works. And how it works is, Ex parte Milligan from the U.S. Supreme Court made a decision that if there was a civilian court on the land, there could not be martial law. So hell, how do you do that? Well, we read up, we found out how to do it, and we did it. All power is inherent in the people. Yes. So we did it. Yes. There's only 5 things to do, and we did all 5 of them. Then we notified all those same people again, Ellen and Kate and the FBI, and told them, we're doing this, and we formed our civilian court. And we gave them 7 days, 14 days, and 21 days to rebut it, or they had acquiesced 3 times, and they did. And we formed the civilian court. Well, when you form a civilian court, and the only courts on Oregon are all admiralty martial law courts, we became the only lawful court on Oregon. And we told them, we eliminated martial law on Oregon. We do things lawfully. We don't do things legally. And we don't worry about how to enforce it. Enforcing is not what we're doing. What we're doing is we're returning Oregon to a constitutional Republican form of government. We don't have to have enforcement. That's all among us. We don't need anybody to enforce what we say if we say it. Now, the feds have zero power. You read the Constitution and they have responsibilities. They have 19 enumerated responsibilities and zero power, because all power is inherent in the people. You gotta get that mindset going for yourself. They don't have the power. So after we did that, we went around and around and around signing people up for a grand jury. It's difficult to get people to stand up, sign their name and say, yeah, I'll sit in a grand jury and I'll do my best. Because they can't hide behind an anonymous name anymore. They gotta use their own name. They gotta be there for themselves and be in a grand jury. Well, that was hard to do, but we got it done. So I tear up sometimes, and Charlie's usually here to bail me out. But not today. Tanya's sitting back there, the redhead. She called a grand jury, and one showed up. And we held the arraignment across the street from the State House on the plaza in public. And we told them all, and none of them came. So we arraigned Kate, Ron Wyden, Suzanne Bonamici, and Jeff Merkley. And we told them, we're going to try you guys. And then we sent presentments to all 38 of the prosecutors on Oregon. And we told them what we had found. And they are all guilty of breaking their oath. They have no honor, and they cannot hold a position of trust. That is self-evident on the public record. You don't have to prove anything. It's there. So we gave the presentments to them, and it's their decision to do what they want to do. But that's on the de facto side. That's what the government is doing. But we, the people, we have a de jure side. We are common law. We're the people. So we wrote a true bill, and we provided the true bill to a trial jury, same place, Salem, across the street from the State House. And we tried them. We tried Ron and Suzanne and Jeff and Kate. And they were all found guilty. And we provided a verdict from an Article 3, Amendment 7, constitutional Republican form of government. Lawfully, we did that. Now, we took that information and provided it to the 38 prosecutors, that this is what the de jure people on Oregon have decided in our common law court, Article 3, Amendment 7. So that verdict goes to those prosecutors. They also have presentments on the de facto side. So they have a lot of information that they can or cannot take action upon. But that's not our problem. Our problem is not enforcement. Our problem is to take the next best step lawfully to return Oregon to a constitutional Republican form of government. And that's what we're doing. Everything else is aside from what we're doing. I don't have any interest in all of the peripheral things that people get caught up with, because that's their ox that's getting gored. So that's where they're into it. And I understand it. I understand it perfectly. If you've gotten into it with the family courts and lost your kid, well, hell yeah, I'm with you 100%. But that's a division from finding our constitutional Republican form of government for Oregon. If you want to start a fight because Second Amendment, I'm with you. But that's still a diversion from returning Oregon to what we need. So, if any of you are interested, we're signing up people for our grand jury on Oregon. Eventually, we're going to have grand juries in every county, but the counties aren't mentioned in the Constitution. Only Oregon is. Now, here's a couple of things. Nobody's told me to quit, so I'm not going to quit yet. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind. When they flipped Oregon into a corporate governance, November 8, 1910, the Republicans and the Democrats and the Oregon State Bar and the judiciary and the legislature all went along with it. They all agreed to govern Oregon in color of law. They knew best, so they were going to institute Article 7 amendment and run the judiciary the way they wanted to. That's color of law, folks. We got to return to law. Thank you.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. And then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, to shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.